Greetings, owners of fine luxury cardboard rectangles. I'm Tony Hawk, and I'm gonna kickflip some knowledge into your face. If you didn't get that reference, well then, you're not one of the cool kids! So, Mark Rosewater decided to answer some questions from, I'd say the customers, but really it's just their liberal echo chamber on Tumblr, or wherever the hell these came from, or Twitter, or whatever. So I thought I don't know what, react to them, I guess? Review them? I don't know, something that's protected by fair use. Some douche on Twitter asked him, you talk about the design of certain sets or mechanics inspiring certain emotions. Now see, I assume he means rage. Just pure rage. Like, oh, Scarab God. Cool, I just won't play Magic for a year and a half. Thanks for that. He continues, but core sets have to be more general. Have you been able to give M19 a distinctive emotional feel? And Mark replied, I'm all about those feels, bro. The overall emotion we were going for is feels good, man, instead of feels bad, man. So we poured ourselves a bowl of honey nut Felios and got to work on M19. By the way, if you Google that, that's a real thing that somebody actually photoshopped, and it's hilarious. So he gives some kind of vague corporate cover answer like, oh, you know, for an emotional standpoint, we're just trying to tap into the core of Magic play experience, the joy of discovery. You know, just generic, yeah, why you started playing Magic, blah. So in other words, no, it doesn't have an emotional center or whatever. Oh, here is one. Now, by the way, I didn't read these ahead of time. I'm just reading them now. I mean, I'm really lazy. Somebody with an adorable puppy as their profile picture on Twitter, the great Pablo. He asks, what was the reason for not including a rare land cycle in Core 2019? You know, that's a damn good question considering that would have made the value not crap. I mean, it's such a gimme thing. You throw reasonably good lands into M19, and remember, this is the set right before a cycle, so they gotta throw something in either this one or the next one. By the way, Guilds of Ravnica is gonna be lands that come in tapped and tapped for 4 colors. Just in case you didn't know that. But yeah, core sets are a bad product price-wise or value-wise. They sell poorly, and they serve a purpose, but they're really lacking in value because they're 50% reprints and they're weak. They just have 1Z, 2Z cards that are added to other decks, and that's it. That's how they always have been. So putting in 5 rare lands is the cure for that. It's an automatic minimum value. I mean, even if people are like, the set EV is like $70, but I could pull a dual land, you know, I could trade it away to somebody else, or I could use it, you know, dual lands are dual lands. I mean, that's the number one trade item right there. So people would be like, okay, I'll buy one, I'll take one for a prize pack, whatever. So Mark replied, everybody hates lands, why would we want to put more of them in? Everybody complains about getting land screwed, so why would we add more? It doesn't make sense, think about it. Just kidding, he actually said, you have different concerns that often fight against one another, here are 2 of them. So the first point is, automatic value, people want them, they recognize them as valuable, and then he goes on to say something very strange. He says, they're embraced quickly by the players, especially the more enfranchised players who tend to be the loudest voices on social media. Is there like a negative connotation to that, or is that like a positive thing? Is it neutral? I don't even understand what he's saying there. It's like people on social media just won't shut up about how your 2-color deck needs dual lands. Yeah, that's how Magic works. I legitimately have no idea what he meant by that statement at all. But then the counterpoint, and this is completely valid, and you'd think that he doesn't realize this by his past actions, Standard can only have so many dual lands because if we create too many, it gets too easy to just play as many colors as you want. Oh, you realize that that's a problem, do ya? You were around in the Khans of Tarkir block. Almost every broken deck in the past 5 years has been 3-color or more. They had to ban a tune with Aether because it was too damn good at color fixing. Imagine that. People are playing 4-color energy, and that turned out to be bad because you just run the best of, because you have more options and your sideboard has answers for everything. So what he's saying with this, if you read between, I'd say the lines, but if you read between the 2 statements, they'll be in the next set. Although, like I said, it's going to become in tapped 4-color. It almost can't be anything else. And then the next one after that will be some kind of duel. Probably a shock or a pain land or whatever. Wow, he is not shying away from the tough questions that people really want to know. Somebody tweeted him, and no joke, he actually acknowledged this and answered it. With core sets now getting reprints for eternal formats like Scapeshift and Crucible of Worlds, and master sets seeming to slow down, can we expect more of these safer, in double quotes, reprints coming through Standard? Is this something else? He posted it verbatim, so I read it verbatim. Yes, that sentence makes no sense. It probably should have said, or is this something else? But basically, like, hey, you put in cards that are useless for standard, which is what they thought about Nexus. And honestly, people are playing Crucible decks now in standard. So these, useless, like Mycosynth Lattice and Battlebond, what the hell was the point of that? Useless, unplayable, safe reprints, can we expect that in standard in the future? And everybody wants to know this. I've speculated on it. I'm just going to read his whole entire answer verbatim without making up some stupid joke because I really want to know. Okay, so Mark replies, one of the reasons to bring back the core sets is its ability for us to bring back reprints that are harder to do in normal expansions. Now, see, that doesn't make sense. Like, you could take, like a Crucible, a Mycosynth Lattice, some just stupid, useless, specific card that only goes in 1 or 2 decks and put it in anything. Like, why is it harder to put in another expansion? Because there's no room? Because Core 19 is just a bunch of reprinted garbage and it has no central theme, I guess. Like, if you're printing Devotion in Theros, there's not room for just some random crap in the Mythic slot. You gotta go with Devotion. You gotta make sure there's enough Devotion, enough enchantments. Because Constellation and Bestow were like the rest of the mechanics. So then he says Core Set 2019 in particular is us being a lot more aggressive about trying to find reprints for older formats. So yes, they acknowledge it. It wasn't just a fluke. It was a one-time thing. They did it on purpose. Is this something we plan to do more of in future core sets? It depends a lot on the success of how the cards we printed in Core 2019 do. Well, the value is garbage. Nobody wants it. My vendor can't even get rid of it, and it's terrible. So, you would think he says it depends on the success. I think what he means is it depends on the lack of success. If it's not aggressive enough, they're going to have to put more value into it. So it's kind of like inverse of what he was implying. So it's our hope that Core Set 2019 can be a blueprint moving forward of how to do this. Okay, well, those are like the only 2 value cards, and then there's some Planeswalkers, so it's a pretty bad blueprint, and I think the solution, clearly, to them, and from a mathematical and business standpoint, is to put 10 valuable but specific reprints in it. But that'll just make drafting it garbage, and that's why they stuck it to just really 2 cards. So they either have to ruin standard by wasting all the rare and mythic slots on stupid crap that's unplayable in standard, but is still valuable, so who cares, and people will open it, but draft will be a joke, or they can put it in master sets and limit it to just a couple, maybe a couple colorless extra bonus cards. Because remember, it was, 284 cards? It's a lot bigger than the standard, 254? I mean, the number's all whack because of Planeswalker decks, and this time around there was 5 Planeswalker decks, so, there is no normal number, but 250-ish is what they were shooting for normally. So I think they added on more just to add on more and then shoehorn in some reprints. So I hope they don't make it like a 320 card set and just dump Eternal Masters 3.0 into it, basically. But yeah, I guess he's really saying expect more of the same. I mean, other than the fact that M19 flopped badly. So I don't know, they might get rid of core sets completely again. Who knows? Ooh, here's a good question. Were there any other cards/types of cards that you wished to design specifically for the modern format, like Alpine Moon or Isolate? Let me add to that. Or Ashes, or Solemnity, or Tocatli Honor Guard. So in other words, yes, they do that, and yes, they have lied about it in the past, and yes, this interview question thing is only about M19, but, I mean, also, the answer is yes. They absolutely are throwing in modern staples, because everybody knows if it's a modern staple or a sideboard answer or whatever, then people will buy it, and ta-da, extra value to your set. I mean, duh. So he answered, once we decided to experiment with designing new cards for older formats in Core Set 2019, yeah, that's when it started. Definitely didn't start in Ixalan. We designed a whole bunch of cards. God, Fatal Push. I mean, there's a whole history of this. We only had so many slots, so we picked the ones we thought had the best chance and printed those. If this experiment works, we have a lot of other designs waiting in the wings to try out. So in other words, yes, a bunch of M19 cards were specifically for older formats, but they lied in the past and said standard is standard, our product is standard. When we print Eldrazi and BFZ is what they're referring to, we do not design it around modern. That's why the cards broke modern, okay? So we banned it. Like, get over it. We're not going to not print something or not push the boundaries in standard or limit something because it might affect modern. Modern is a second format. They said we design standard, period, and if something screws with modern, we'll just fix it later. So they actually, it turned out a bunch of the staff members had lied, blatantly lied. They said, almost word for word, we do not consider modern at all. Not even on our mind. We design standard, period. And then later, one of their staff members, I guess, accidentally mentioned or leaked or decided to just give up on lying about. Either way, they said, yeah, we knew that the Eldrazi and, Reality Smasher and a couple other cards would affect Modern. We knew that. We were well aware of it, but we thought, we don't want to limit Standard to save Modern. And that's when they reiterated our product is Standard, we design Standard. So they knew damn well what the Eldrazi would do to Modern, and they just didn't care. They were just like, screw it, who cares, Standard makes more money. I mean, that was my take on it. So, yeah, they went from, oh no, not Modern at all, to, yeah, we kind of knew, but we ignored it, to, yeah, we're designing cards in M19 specifically for Modern because Modern equals money. So, my feeling is they were lying the whole time. I don't think they changed anything. I mean, just look at Aether Revolt. Holy crap, were there a lot of Modern staples in there. Or potential attempted Modern staples. So at least they're coming clean about it now. Damn, he is not dodging any of these bullets here. The next person asked, with the corsets, haha, plural, that's funny, returning, is there a chance they could go away again? And are there any foreseeable outcomes that would take them away? Okay, let me answer that before Mark gets to it. Yes, if it doesn't make money, nobody wants it, the EV is crap, and everybody takes a dump on it because it's so terrible. So in other words, exactly what happened and this situation right now, that would be why they would consider getting rid of it again. Let's hear Mark's take on it. Usually when we make a decision and then reverse our decision, we're pretty cautious about making sure whether reversing it is the right thing to do, because the absolute last thing we want to do is reverse it yet again. Well, then stop being wrong about everything all the time. I mean, the whole, let's ban Emrakul. Emrakul's the problem. Oh no, you know what? Bringing things out on the battlefield for free actually is the problem, and always has been in the entire history of Magic. Oops. And the funny thing is they didn't reverse the decision. The only reason they didn't unban Emrakul is because they didn't want to just blatantly say, hey, we screwed up. We made a mistake, this was wrong. They doubled down and they were like, no, it's continuing to be a problem, so we're going to restrict this deck further. Yeah, because Emrakul did anything at all. People just moved on to Ulamog, you idiots. Like me and everybody else said. I don't know why they couldn't predict it. So the audience can understand us trying something and it not working out. Oh yeah, everybody in the community is super understanding and reasonable about it. But having it toggle back and forth too many times causes the audience to lose confidence in us. Okay, our confidence in you cannot possibly get lower. The set was shit. It sold like shit. Get rid of it. Wizards of the Coast is clearly being, overseen by a drunk ape, and it's just spinning out of control. So, no, we have zero confidence in you. We have the opposite. We expect you to royally screw things up over and over and over. So at least take a step back when you do something stupid like bring back a worthless, shitty product that nobody wants and isn't worth anything that nobody wants to buy and my distributor is stuck with, and just undo it. Get rid of it. Nobody wants these stupid freaking corsets. Or at least stop naming them the wrong damn year. So he continues, I can say by all metrics we're observing, oh god, I can't wait to see the end of the sentence. I just can't wait. Corset 2019 seems to be doing a good job of what it was created to do. Well, isn't that corporate PR speak for, yeah, we knew corsets were shit and we brought them back anyway and look, this one's shit. That's exactly what we expected, but we fit a bunch of reprints into it. Yay! Yeah, they probably expected from years of past experience that the corsets would be garbage, because they always have been. Financially and sales-wise only, by the way. And then this one was crap. So, yeah, it's, quote, doing a good job of what it was created to do, which is put a bunch of reprints out there and sell like crap. Corset 2020 is well into design. Okay, so they're not canceling that one. And it's our intent to continue doing the corset as a regular ongoing thing. Yeah, it always was, but, nobody wants to admit they're wrong, so yeah, of course it's your intent. So is there a chance we'll stop doing corsets again? Yes, there's a chance, and we're willing to change course if we have enough evidence that we've made a grave mistake. Yup, by evidence they mean the sales numbers. But in general, I'm pretty confident corsets are here to stay. Okay, remember, he doesn't work in the accounting department. So him being pretty sure adds up to a hill of beans compared to, hey, this sold half as much as Dominaria. Hey, somebody from accounting, send Mark an email. Hey guys, it's exactly what we expected. It sold like crap and nobody wants it. What's wrong with that? Why are people telling me there's something wrong with that? I don't get it. Okay, I've got a suggestion. Remove Corset 2020 and replace it with a set based exclusively on stupid internet memes. Like, just call it Meme Plane. Or just call the set The Internet. In fact, it could be lolcats versus doggos, the world's biggest meme civil war. They could put Pepe on a card. They could put the Kekistan flag on a card. That'll be the day. You know people would buy that. Okay, I bet at this point Unstable sold better than M19. It was so bad. So he intends for his own ego and his own arrogance to keep printing it, and he doesn't want to admit that they made a mistake, but he left the door open because I'm sure he knows how well it sold, which is not. Here's a good question. What were some of the design goals of M19? What was the overall philosophy for the core sets, like now? Because in the past, I believe the new core sets were designed to be a gateway for new players. Does that goal remain? Now remember, they said the core sets were coming back, but they're not at all the same. And then they made them exactly the same, but tried to make statements to the contrary, I guess. They said, oh, it has an identity problem. Is it for new players? Is it not? Is it reprints? Is it not? It didn't have a central theme, so we got rid of it and replaced it with just another core set, or standard set, not core set. And then they brought it back and they're like, it'll be completely different. We took everything we didn't like about it and changed it. And then it's 50% reprints, 50% not, super simplistic mechanics, and it's supposed to be for new people. It's literally the same product. They changed nothing. So let's see if Morrow admits that. When we returned to core sets, we decided to double down on them as entry points for new players. Oh my god, so they took what the problem was and made it worse. So they've doubled down on it being for new players, even though they now have like welcome decks and challenge decks and planeswalker decks and deck builders toolkits and the open house and MTG duels and arena and puzzle quest. Yeah, that's a great reason and a good thing to double down on. It was really a void. It was very lacking in that department. So we designed them along with the entire entry-level pipeline to make sure that the core set was maximizing making those products the best they can be, and feedback we've gotten from stores is that we succeeded. I mean, I guess, yeah, I mean, the M19 is friendly to new people. It is simpler, and it's the set you want to teach people how to play on. Unfortunately, it's in the middle of 8-set standard, which is a complete shitstorm. You're like, oh, here's a practice deck, here's an M19 thing, here's, an M19 constructed planeswalker deck or whatever. Okay, we played, now let's go to F&M and get obliterated by 8 sets worth of crazy shit all duct taped together into one hellball of flaming shit. If anything, Guilds of Ravnica should have been the new player set because there's so few sets legal that the power level would be lower and games would be slower and more forgiving. This right now is the worst time to get people into Magic. It's crazy to even assume that this would be a good idea. So we chose to move away from some previous choices, such as adding in a non-evergreen keyword, that made enfranchised players happy at the cost of adding complexity for new players. Really, they just learned one mechanic like protection. Oh, technically that one's really complicated, but you throw in so evergreen is like recurring. It's like lifelink, death touch, flying, like the super, it's in every set, whatever. And then, God, they actually called it deciduous. Abilities are ones you don't see very often, like protection from and I don't know, swamp walk, just like weird stuff. But I mean, like bolster, if they just put bolster in M19, you would just take 1 minute to explain how bolster works and then they'd be like, okay, I get how it works. Cool, Magic is more dynamic, less boring. So their philosophy that it made more enfranchised players happy. No, nobody's happy with a core set. And then it threw off new players because they had to take 60 seconds to learn something new. Oh no. I mean, they already have to learn like trample, death touch, flying, lifelink, double strike, first strike. I mean, they got to learn all that. Why not throw one more in to make it more interesting? So we offset this, by the way, by designing cards at higher rarities tuned to formats we know enfranchised players will play more often. Oh, so that was part of why they made it like Modern and Commander and Legacy staples. That's actually interesting because I hadn't considered that angle of it, and that is just interesting. I think that's kind of clever, but it's in the middle of a disastrous product, so it kind of completely undermines it. So if you'd like more on this topic, I wrote an entire article about it back in June. I am not going to click on that. So somebody asked, was it hard to have just one single double-sided card, Nicol Bolas, and that's it in the set? And will we see this in the future? And his answer was basically, yeah, it was difficult, but they've always had the ability to print double-sided, obviously. They've done it in the past. They did it in Shadows. It's not new. Oh, and by they, I mean their printing contractors, who suck, by the way. And basically it comes down to every set has a budget to do something out of the ordinary, something not normal that might require a little bit of additional labor, logistics, difficulty, printing time, basically money. And that's what they chose to do with it. Oh, take one guess where I'm going with this one. Hey, I have an idea. Instead of flip cards, which are universally hated by everyone, not to mention a new ability that's confusing to new people, which you just said in the last question you didn't want to do, maybe don't put in a double face card and print the whole thing on better paper. Use your budget for weirdness and additional logistics and labor and put it into better paper. How about that? Hey guys, why don't you leave your comment down below? Would you have preferred Bolas to be in the set, a flip Bolas in 3 color that's only playable in like 1 deck and is horrifically overpowered while also being borderline unplayable and you basically have to ramp into it? Or would you have preferred all of your cards to not curl? In your opinion, which one would have been a better spending of their budget? Somebody asked him which card was his favorite in the entire set, and he said Desecrated Tomb. Okay, it's a rare 3-cost artifact that nobody's playing, and whenever 1 or more creature cards leave your graveyard, create a 1/1 black bat creature token with flying. You know, for that bat tribal. It's super stupidly specific, overpowered, and it does nothing unless you can take something out of your graveyard, and there's a lot of graveyard clearing. It's one of the worst cards in the entire set, and it's a waste of a rare slot. But for some reason, it's his favorite. Also, it works perfectly with the Scarab God, which should have been banned a year ago, so that's wonderful. Thanks for that. Oh, this one's an outright lie. Somebody said, why did you name him Arcades and not Arcades Sabbath, like the original card? And the card, by the way, is Arcades the Strategist. Sabbath is 7 letters, and comma space the space strategist. Oh, you know where I'm going with this. That's 15 characters. There's also room for about 5 more letters after that on the title bar. Keep that in mind. He says, I believe it's Arcades and not Arcade Sabbath because the latter simply doesn't fit on the card title bar. Both B and H are pretty fat letters. So one of the tricks we could do when we want to make like a longer name is to put fewer mana symbols on it, but we couldn't do that because they're all 3 color. Oh, plus generics, so 4 symbols. So why not just shrink the font size? Because we want the cards to be legible, and we need a little wiggle room for when the cards are printed in other languages. The Strategist, for example, might be longer in a few of the 11 languages in which we print cards. So he literally proves why it shouldn't say the Strategist, because Sabbath would be Sabbath in every language. It's a proper noun. So because Sabboth allegedly wouldn't fit on the title bar with its amazingly large 7 characters, they put 13 characters instead, and also it might be longer in one of the other languages. So they got rid of a shorter universal proper noun to put in a much, much, much longer ending, which might be translated to even longer in other languages, and that's supposed to make sense to us. Okay then. Here, let me give you the actual answer. Sabbath is 1 letter away from Sabbath, and they didn't want to piss off religious types. So PR told them to change it, and they did. So I skipped a couple in there that were boring or horribly obvious or uninteresting or didn't make any sense to me, but that's the gist of it. So, wow, he really went after the hard questions, the stuff that people really want to know. He didn't just take softball ones, and that's what he usually does. So that's why some people respect Mark Rosewater. Unfortunately, he's a toxic, social justice pushing asshole, and he completely ruins every set that he works on. So that does, kind of counteract any kind of good he does. But he's the one that the other people at Wizards don't want to be answering questions from the users, because he'll be really honest and straightforward about it. It's just usually he's wrong. He's wrong about just about everything, but at least he doesn't hide behind some shield of, oh, we're not going to talk about that. We're just going to ignore that. We're going to tuck our head in the sand and pretend it doesn't exist. Except I've seen next to nothing about card quality and paper quality from him. So, yeah, I guess there are some off-topic topics. Hey, next time he asks for interview questions, flood him with stuff about paper. Hell, they don't even have to be questions. They could just be like, your paper sucks, fix it. Like that, and then maybe a question mark at the end just to confuse him. Oh, your paper quality sucks, fix it. It could be seen as a question. So I thought this was very interesting, very worth a look. If you want, read the full questions and answers. I did mean to do this mostly as a parody and a joke, but then he started taking questions that I actually cared about. So hopefully you found this as interesting as I did, and I will see you guys next video.